every team has a rivalry that sometimes you just can't help but wonder, is it a rivalry? Is it? Or is it something you just say to make it sound more important? And there are some teams you just feel like, man, they could be better. And sometimes you're like, man, could you imagine if, I don't know, they would have won those Super Bowls? How different the world would have been, how different the franchise would have been. And also, what if the ownership of the Carolina Panthers wasn't complete losers? Hey everybody, I'm Cortez, and I'm a critic, and we're continuing our NFL 2025 draft recap of the NFC South, and we're going to Carolina to talk about the Panthers, as they are going to potentially, hopefully, overcome the mediocrity they have been going through for a few times with both the players on the field, the coaching staff, and of course, the ownership. Carolina Panthers 2025 draft. So, before we get officially into the picks, I just want to say that when I did my end of the season evaluation of the Carolina Panthers, there was some conversation about their draft history. There was some conversation about the future of the Carolina Panthers. You know, did Dave Canales do enough to make him feel like, okay? Did Bryce Young do enough to say that, you know, okay, he just had a slow start. He got benched. He matured. He became good. And, of course, let's all be real. We've seen it too often. Is this going to translate to next year? And what do we focus on in the draft? There were talks about defense. I kept saying from day one, they need a definitive number one receiver. And I understand the notion of make the defense better. It helps out everyone else. But I feel like Bryce Young, to mature, he cannot keep relying on veteran receivers that may or may not be here as long as Bryce Young's career trajectory is supposed to be. So I feel like they definitely need to get a definitive wide receiver. Now, a lot of wide receivers made marks during the last part of the seasons and, of course, in the combine. But there was one wide receiver from the desert that I said from definitively day one, they should get him because I said, and I quote, he reminds me of a division rival in Mike Evans of Tampa, and Dave Canales knows exactly how effective a Mike Evans could be for a young quarterback. So, with the 8th overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers rightfully selected Tataro McMillan, wide receiver, Arizona. Tataro McMillan. I am so sorry. I'll get his name right the same way when I learned about Ben Roethlisberger's name finally. When he got picked, I was the most like, duh. Not so much I was right, because I did pick him to potentially be the guy. But it felt like it was too obvious that the Panthers needed a wide receiver for Young. And with Canales being offensive coordinator, definitely a new toy for Young. Yes, Chuba Hubbard is probably still the face of the Carolina Panthers offense. Not denying that, and I feel like this year, definitively they said he's the starter, or he's the face of the offense. But if you want Bryce Young to get better, maybe give him a wide receiver that could potentially play as long as he is and develop that chemistry. And McMillan, I saw a lot of Mike Evans in him. And I just couldn't help but feel like, well, Mike Evans did such great wonders for basically every quarterback he has played with, from Tom Brady to Luke McCown to Jameis Winston to, you know, Fitzpatrick. So to me, the Panthers really need to make the ballsy move and definitively get a number one receiver for Bryce Young. Worst case scenario, it falls apart, but you have to make the risk because the Buccaneers often was top 5. The Saints have Kellen Moore, an offensive-minded head coach who has been successful in most of the teams he's coached. And then you got the Atlanta Falcons, which they got Michael Penix and Brian. So everyone else in the NFC South has an offensive game plan that feels very strong on paper. And they have everyone has at least 2 or 3 players that can make up for it. The Panthers only have Chuba and aging. I mean, Xavier, the guy they got from South Carolina, did he really make the splash I think they did? I don't think they did, so that's where I feel like they really, and plus, I'm not going to lie, Xavier was more of a wild card. If you to me, he felt more of a guy that he can make big splash plays, but he just never felt like. And plus, it was Adam Thielen that had a rejuvenated career in time in Carolina. So either Bryce Young and Xavier never got chemistry or what have you, but Xavier didn't develop probably the way they expected a first round pick wide receiver to be. And now they got another definitive wide receiver in a much higher grade. And now you got two young receivers potentially leading to the future. This was a smart move, and I felt like it had to be. If they went defense first, I don't think anyone would be complaining about it. But I felt like I don't feel we should be saying that Bryce Young is back or Bryce Young is the guy we wanted, because there is still a good chance that is all a mirage. Could Young be good? Yes. But everyone else in that division is now going to be better too. And then they addressed defense in the second round. With the 51st overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers selected Nick Scortron, edge, Texas A&M. There's a lot of defensive edge players on this draft class, and a lot of them were pass rush buddies from their own team. They had like two Georgia guys, two Texas A&M guys. It felt like everyone had at least a buddy that are being drafted in the same draft class with them, and they were teammates in college. It's a unique way, and like I said, everyone else in NFC South is running for a 3-4 defense. So they currently going to, and Nick is an edge, and according to the mock, they currently have Nick as the strong side linebacker, day one starter. So I guess the Brian Burns departure kind of hurt. Not to mention Derek Brown got hurt very early in the season. So their big, 100 tackle guy was gone so early in the season. And it really showed when their rush defense was almost dead last, if not definitively dead last. So a lot of the Panthers defense was depleted because Derek Brown took a lot of the attention away from the flaws of the Panthers. And them getting Nick, I feel like the Carolina Panthers defense is filled with a bunch of not recognizable names unless you are a Panther fan or unless you're in that organization. None of these defensive players have the same type of impact like a Julius Peppers or a Luke Kuechly or even, I'm drawing a blank on his name. The DB, number 24, not Bradbury, but before. Josh Norman? There you go. I think it's Josh Norman. None of these players on the defensive side of the Panthers have that, definitive, impact beyond the organization and even beyond their division. So I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying the Panthers are still kind of a mystery with their identity. And with Derek Brown gone last year, I think it kind of took a step back on what they could be. We all remember how dominant the Panthers were during the years of their playoff run with Cam, and even before Cam, how their defense was a big factor in that. Dave Canales was brought in to be the offensive-minded head coach, and it was meant to give Young a chance to thrive. So I feel, as much as I want the defense to be better for the Panthers, I'm sure the Panther fans want that too, I can't help but feel like Dave Canales still focuses, if the offense can be better, the defense will be helpful too. If the offense can score 25 points a game, the defense will not be pressured to stop, 20 points a game when they can lose 20-10 every time. So seeing them getting Nick, a player who I thought would potentially be a first-round pick, also with his other teammate, this feels like, honestly, a steal. I feel like the Panthers got fortunate to get a guy of this caliber that had potential grade for a first-rounder and to get him basically midway through the second. So to me, I think the Panthers got two day one starters, and they have proven in the first two packs. That's a great start, and both on opposite side, you need a pass rusher sack quarterback and need someone to catch the ball from your quarterback. The Panthers addressed 2 home runs in the first 2 picks. That is a great start for a team that's trying to compete, on the division that kind of is mid. And then in the third round, with the 77th overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers selected Princely Umandele, edge, Ole Miss. I butchered that name. So Princely, they doubled down on pass rushers, and they currently have Princely viewed as the weak side linebacker behind DJ and Pat. So, double up on young pass rushers. I won't be surprised if Princely gets rotation time involvement, but they doubled down on edge, and they both really put them on both sides of it. So potentially the Panthers are developing the future pass rush for the Panthers for the next 5 or 6 years. and we'll see how quickly they get involved into the defensive scheme. But Nick was already viewed as was viewed as a late first round grade. Princely probably was viewed as more of a late second round grade that just happened to fall in the third. Honestly, they got 2 SECs, so I'm gonna put a little bit of respect on SEC caliber talent and put them into the Carolina Panthers and say maybe they got an extra 2% more oomph because they played in a much more competitive division, so the level of competition probably dictates more. But all depends on how quickly that they get involved. And like I said, Nick is already viewed as a day one starter as a strong side linebacker in a 3-4 defense, while Prince is viewed as a third stringer. But that can obviously change, depends on training camp and depends on playing time and injuries. So right now, Panthers doubling on pass rushers really a double down addressing the defensive lackness. And then in a very unique pick, I don't hate it, in the 4th round, with the 114th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers select Trevor Etienne, running back, Georgia. Another Etienne going to the NFL. How beautiful is that? Trevor Etienne, I remember his time at Florida and his time in Georgia. I feel like this was meant to... I feel like Etienne is kind of like Hubbard in that he's more athletic than just run behind the tackle kind of guy. Now remember, the Panthers did not draft, but they did pick up Rico Dowell from the Cowboys free agency side, and he had 1,000-yard rushing on a Cowboys team that basically had no chance. So I know they want to get Bryce Young moved on to the next step, in his young career of his rookie deal. But Chuba Hubbard is definitely the face of the offense. Rico is the surprise splash player on a team, and Trevor Etienne, I feel like, Trevor Etienne is the running back that I won't be surprised if he is like the number one receiving threat for running backs. Like when the season's all done, don't be surprised if Trevor Etienne has more catches than Chuba Hubbard in the season ends. I know that's kind of weird, but I feel like Trevor Etienne could potentially be that change pace running back, and especially on those screen pass plays, catching the ball in between the gaps. Don't be surprised if Trevor Etienne takes some pressure and some toll off Chuba during the game, so therefore Chuba is not being worked down to death by week 10. Trevor is the game change pacer, and I feel like he's going to be more of the catcher on third down than running between. He also can run in between the tackles, but I see Etienne more as a receiving threat. Still in the 4th round and a few picks later, with the 122nd pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers selected Lathan Ransom, safety, Ohio State. Right? Ohio State? It's been a while since I looked into these players. Ohio State, cool. I put OSU, and I was making sure I was Ohio State and not Oklahoma State, and I just forgot to put the K. So we double up on pass rushers. We work on our secondary. Let's be real. The biggest thing is Horn. Their cornerback is their biggest defensive backside width. Seeing them get Lathan, he's currently viewed as the backup behind Trevion in the strong safety side. Can't help but feel like he was on a good front with the Ohio State defense. So I'm going to give credit to that defensive-minded player going to a team that definitely needed defensive identity. Not to mention a team that was a big factor in the team's success. So we know what it takes to be a successful team. He knows how to do his job. And I'm going to give a little bit more credit that a player that played for a team that wins it all knows what it takes to win it all. So I'm going to take the mental aspect of this young man and say that he already knows what it makes to be. He's currently viewed as a backup, so rotation player, probably get some job in special teams. But to me, this guy is probably more prepared. He just needs the NFL level of experience to get acclimated. Don't be surprised if he's making plays by week 5. Don't be surprised. He'll probably get some rotation, but like make plays, like breaking up passes, maybe get interception here. Don't be surprised by week 5. He's already making impacts. That's how confident I feel he's going to be. And then the 5th round, with the 140th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers selected Cam Jackson, defensive tackle, Florida. Okay, is Carolina just drafting defensive players from the SEC? Because the A&M, Ole Miss, Georgia, Florida, we're just drafting defensive players from the whole SEC. We're trying to make the SEC All-Star team on the defensive side, apparently. Like I said, after they really addressed the wide receiver side, and I feel like the ETN running back was more of like a, ooh, ETN's right there. Can we get him? Can we? The rest has been, we need to reshape our defense with young players that we can develop, but have the pedigree that can compete already in the professional level. That's why I feel like sometimes we have to admit, as talented as some players are, level of competition probably can shift 2 or 3% of a player's, potential draft stats. Because everyone views the SEC and probably the Big Ten as the two big conferences with the most closely level of competition to the NFL, that they can probably utilize more into the NFL faster. Maybe that's why they go SEC more than others. Or I'm just an SEC clone, I just support the SEC. I don't know. But Cam Jackson, defensive tackle, they currently have him as part of the nose guard department behind Shy and Bobby. So definitely meant for the future, rotational player development for the future. Like I said, 3-4 defense. Cam Jackson, we'll see how much he gets involved into the defense, how will he evolve. Could he potentially be a versatile player where they move him to the defensive end? Like I said, 3-4 defense is basically just a glorified, more athletic defensive tackle, playing end. So we'll see, but this is just for depth and rotation and potentially for development for the future. Can we develop him over time without having to spend a fortune? Probably that's the way the Panthers are thinking of going. Then in the 5th round, with the 163rd pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers selected Mitchell Evans, tight end, Notre Dame. Okay, I was a big fan of Sanders, the guy I got from Texas the year before. And Tommy Treble, I think he's proven to be more valuable than he's given credit for. And then, I don't know, the tight end pick makes me go, I think you got 2 good tight ends already. You have good running back. Everything feels good. This feels a little bit like, let me take a look at him. He's 6'5", 258, so he's probably more of a thick receiver than most. He's 6'5", 258, which basically was just a normal NBA schematics there. So for all I know, that Mitchell is probably more of a thick receiver, probably used more as a receiving threat than a blocker. I mean, he was on Notre Dame, so he definitely knows how to handle it. I'm going to say that, he's probably utilized more. But then again, I thought Saunders and Treadwell have probably used more as a receiving thing. I don't know. None of the tight ends really scream to me blocking as effective as more utilized as passing. So we'll see. This could be a diamond in the rough they're probably looking into here, but I don't know. This every team has a pick where you just go, okay, he must have done something in the combine or something in his interview. Something must have made him feel like, yes, because this doesn't feel like a need. I thought you have a good 1-2 tight end punch, and the receiving core you've been invested into with 2 rookies basically from last year and this year, it just feels like, why a 3rd tight end? You already got a new tight end last year, and Tommy Treadle is doing well already. Oh well. Carolina Panther fans, you let me know if you feel that the Mitchell Evans pick is probably the biggest steal, and I'm just not seeing it. And then the last pick for the Panthers in the 6th round, with the 208th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers selected Jimmy Horn Jr., wide receiver, Colorado. Now, Jimmy Horn, here's a question I always ask to my quarterbacks and receiver buddies out there. The ones that either play quarterback or receiver in high school, college, or flag football, whatever. What argument do you feel makes more sense? A good quarterback makes a bad receiver good? A good receiver makes a bad quarterback better? Or a good quarterback makes a good receiver greater? I always feel weird with that argument because we have seen some receivers get a little prima donna, and we've seen some quarterback get a little bit self-centered. And sometimes I just feel that you're both good, so why does it matter who makes who better? It's always that, weird combination. Jimmy Horn was with Shedeur. Shedeur had a great season at Colorado. Some may argue he probably should have been at least a Heisman candidate. Travis Hunter thrived with Shedeur throwing him the ball, but how much was it Shedeur just throwing Travis Hunter and Travis Hunter did the rest? and how much was Travis Hunter's defensive side that helped catapult his Heisman side. So, and Shedeur, according to some reports, Shedeur is making a little bit more of a solidified statements in camp, maybe so much off the field with his speeding violations. But on the field, he's showing a little bit more promise than probably they expected or wanted to have that type of attention. So looking at Jimmy Horn here, not gonna lie, this feels a little bit like they want to maybe just one more time give Bryce Young another toy. And I think Jimmy Horn is probably better than his grade and where his position was in the draft. Jimmy Horn's probably not the 208th best player. He's probably a little bit, better ranked, but he's going to a young team with a young quarterback whose last name is Young, who is trying to prove that the second half of the season wasn't a fluke, that he definitely has momentum to carry him to this upcoming season. So, like I said, Xavier and McMillan are the 1-2 guy, while Adam Thielen is the second receiver. But we all know that Adam Thielen is more into the tubes than the other two young receivers. So for all we know, Jimmy Horn could be competing with Coker and Renford and David Moore to potentially try to find a way to get his roster spot and get into that third wide receiver side. There's opportunity there. He's basically coming in with another rookie in McMillan and a one-year guy last year. So he's still in a very good pool of a lot of young receivers. There's still plenty of openings to make a statement. And compared to the other wide receivers that were drafted within last year and this year, Jimmy Horn was played with a little bit more talked about quarterback, for good or bad that it is, and statistically. So we'll see how much he does in Carolina. But this could potentially be a steal if he develops quickly with this new NFL offense. So that is the Carolina Panthers draft class. The player I am most excited about is Trevor Etienne. I'm more excited about this running back. I am more excited about seeing him, even though I do like Chuba Hubbard. But I feel like he's a guy that I believe if he develops as the pass-catching guy that he should be, watch out, foes of the Carolina Panthers, because Trevor will make more splashes than you expected. And I feel like with him playing at Florida and then playing at Georgia and still making noises on both sides of the program, he can handle the pressure. And he's not destined to be the day one starter or even destined to make an impact. But do not be surprised if a game in the first 3 or 4 weeks where he catches like a simple 2-yard catch and takes 40 yards for a first down on a screenplay. Don't be surprised if he makes big splash plays very early in his career using his raw talent. And the grade, I know I skipped it, the grade I give the Carolina Panthers is, I'm going to say they're better. I know I kind of skipped it here. I just realized it. Carolina Panthers, I'm going to say they're better. I would probably say not yet if Bryce Young didn't show that second half resurgence. I'll probably say they're in the same boat like the Saints, where they're not yet there. I'm not going to say that they're going to compete for the NFC South, but if they will get 8 wins, 9 wins, I will not be surprised. But I got to wait till the preseason before I make that type of prediction. But to me, Carolina is a better team, and a lot of it is based on Young's development continues from last year, because we have seen quarterbacks have one-hit wonders and then disappear. And sometimes not on the team they were drafted. So the NFL is a mysterious mystery. So to me, that is the Carolina Panthers. They're better, but not competitors. And that is the Carolina Panthers. We're now talking about the two teams that basically depends on what side of the aisle you on are determining that they are clearly the destined team to win the division again, or the team that's going to finally win the division for the first time since 28-3. So we're going to be, because it's my channel and I like to do best for last, so we're going to go to Atlanta to talk about all the hype of the Atlanta Falcons as they look to finally win the division, prove their doubters wrong, and basically bring back the Dirty Bird, I guess. I don't know. But the Atlanta Falcons are next, and we talk about the 2025 draft class as they quest to prove that, once again, the Michael Penix pick last year wasn't a mistake. Kirk Cousins on the roster, though, so talk about the finances later. But until next time, I'm Cortez, and I'm a critic. Thank you so very much for watching.